Morning and welcome to our daily live show where we talk about personal and financial development. If you don't already know who we are, we're Martin and Chelsea Matthews. We are married, we're in business together with a combined 21 years experience, if you could believe it, in the financial industry. We own a financial education, services, and investment agency, and we're authors of this book, Let's Fight About Money, helping couples communicate about money, handle conflict, and build an unbreakable financial house. And our mission is to help you build an unbreakable financial house, which means you can handle anything that comes your way financially, but not just handling things financially, really being able to create the life that you truly want to live and be able to make the impact that you truly want to make in your life, your family's life, your community, and beyond. So you could really reach your full potential. And today, what are we talking about?
We're talking about which states are winning the post-pandemic economy.
Oh my gosh.
The Wall Street Journal came out with an article about that. We're gonna talk about that, and stay tuned to find out if you're living in one of the states, what does that mean for you? If you're living in a state that's winning, or if you're living in a state that's losing in this post-pandemic economy. What do you do? How do you handle it? From the perspective of, is there an upcoming recession? How do you prepare? All of these things, we're going to talk about that. So,
and also really quick, I just want to say, as you're coming in, please let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you know anyone or you think anyone else would enjoy this show, tag them, share this out, like, comment, share. And thank you for joining us.
Yes, we'll be going live every single day, Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. It'll also be available on replays. You can also watch it later, comment, ask questions, all those kinds of things. Chelsea and I talk about personal financial development and business growth and expansion. So those are the things we're talking about, things you need to know when it comes to which states are winning. So this is the Wall Street Journal article. I'm going to share this really quick so you guys can see what we're talking about here when it comes to this. So first of all, this is the title of their article. Their article is titled, Red States Are Winning the Post-Pandemic Economy. Can you switch it to the other one? Thank you. Red States are winning the post-pandemic economy. So look, first of all, this is not, it's not political. This is economics. I'm just going by what the Wall Street Journal title is saying. It's not politics. I'm not a red guy. I'm not a blue guy. Okay. I'm a green guy. I'm a businessman. And when it comes to your household, you've got to look at the economics of your household, the economics of your state. Now, I'm just kidding when I say I'm a green guy. I do pay attention to politics and political things, but I want you to understand that don't get so caught up in the identity that you are red or this other person's blue and you don't agree and you hate the other guy on the other side, whatever. None of that actually leads to what you're trying to do to build for your household. Number one, and I say this all the time, Chelsea is the CFO of the household. I'm the CEO of the household. It's the same arrangement we have in the business. I'm the CEO of the business. Chelsea's the CFO of the business. CFO is the Chief Financial Officer.
He brings it in, I send it out.
So she tells the money where to go. Mm-hmm. My job is to go create a surplus of revenue so that she can direct that revenue, right? She's the Chief Financial Officer. So when it comes to what the Wall Street Journal is talking about, red states are winning the post-pandemic economy. What did it mean by that? So they have a measure that they've been taking. So they're talking about states that lean Republican have recovered faster, says your states that lean Republican have recovered faster than their Democratic-leaning blue ones, with workers and employers moving from the coasts to the middle of the country in Florida. So again, this is not about politics. It's about economics. When you start seeing this happen, the thing you got to look at is start to understand what is the impact for you and what is the impact for your state. So we live in Georgia. Georgia leans red. We have a Republican governor, we have a Republican legislature, and then but our senators in DC are blue, right? So you have this kind of leaning one way towards that. What they did was they did a study that showed that red states have added 341,000 jobs since February of 2020. And blue states were still $1.3 million jobs short as of May. So what does that mean in terms of your state? If you're in one of those states where they're still looking to add jobs, they're short on jobs, it could mean a reduction. It could mean a reduction in services, and it could mean higher taxes for your state. Because so read a part where you highlighted about some of the companies that's leaving from one state to the other one.
Yeah, so during the shutdown, a lot of companies, some of you, maybe your company or your job went remote because everything had to shut down. And it seemed really great at first. Employees went remote and a lot of them really liked it. So they actually started moving to different states that they really wanted to be in, also that were cheaper, less taxes. And once businesses saw that and they realized, hey, we're not tied to our employees coming in, businesses actually started moving to different states who had less living expenses, less taxes. So this one company in particular moved to Nashville. And
what's the first page that talks about the companies that were changing?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so one of these ones.
I'm not sure.
So
I don't know what you're talking
the
about.
one you highlighted, several major companies announced their headquarters, changing their headquarters.
Yeah, moving from blue to red states. So this one, what are you? I don't know what you're.
So hedge fund company Citadel recently moved its headquarters from Chicago to Miami. So they moved from Illinois, blue state, to Florida, red state, and Caterpillar is moving from Illinois to Texas. So when we talk about that, what I'm referring to is all when that happens, it changes the jobs dynamic of those states. So when those people leave, jobs leave. The revenue that Caterpillar and Citadel was bringing in, the taxes that they were paying in those states, that's now going to be paid in other states. And so they're going to have to make up for that in different ways. They're going to have to make up for that with potentially higher taxes. You're seeing that in California. We used to live in California before we moved to Georgia. We lived in California many years. Chelsea was born in California. So what was the other one that you were talking about for the Nashville guy?
Well, this company moved to Nashville and he was like, wow, this is so great. This is the first time I actually get to live where I want to live. And there's less taxes and living expenses. But one thing that companies are noticing, they're coming to realize that remote work isn't all that it's cracked up to be. And there's not as much production that happens, with when there's companies that are fully remote. And so now those employees that move to different states thinking that they could stay remote, they're now encouraging them to move to the state where the company is so they can come back to the office. So a couple of things that's going to happen is that in that state where the business moved to, if the employees don't want to move there and come into the office, then that state is going to absorb those jobs. So those companies are going to be providing more jobs in those areas. And then also the employees that also move to red states that maybe don't want to move to not go remote, then they're going to be looking for jobs in those states as well. So there's more opportunities that are going to come out of, these people moving. The states are getting more taxes. Like you said, there's more jobs being created because businesses are being moved there. And then real estate prices are rising as well.
Yeah. And we have one staff member who works remote, and she's moving to the state of Florida. So she's moving from Georgia to Florida, and she's working remotely. And the reason for that's allowed is because inside of our business, we keep stats. We know her production levels. So, and she even went part remote and part in the office. And so that's one of the things for you, if you're a business owner and you're looking at, does it make sense for remote? Does it make sense for moving to different states? Those are things you have to consider. For example, Florida does not have any state income tax. California is looking at increasing the state income tax. So on average, the states that were doing better, the average state income tax was 3.8%. The states that were doing worse, their state income tax is 8%. So you start thinking about it as your income starts to go up, and you start realizing that, well, that can represent thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars every year, just that difference. And so if you move from a state that has an 8% income tax to a state with 0% income tax, you just saved 8% of your income. That means if you're making $100,000 a year, that's $8,000 a year that you've saved. If you're making $1 million a year, so you just do the math on there, and that's an $80,000 a year difference. So people are starting to factor those kinds of things into their decision. An $8,000 a year difference makes a big deal when it comes to buying groceries. All of those kinds of things are important when you start looking at where you live, and how much your dollar is going, and how much of your taxes you're actually getting to keep. So, and even in California, gas is the highest in the country versus other places. So you have all these different things that are largely working against people in some of these states. So drop in the comments which state do you live in, a red state or a blue state? And I hate that red versus blue kind of thing. But I'll explain to you what went into the metrics here. So let me share that part. Did you want to say something, Lyle?
Yeah, and it's also about, not your identity with one or the other side. It's just about looking at the facts, looking at the numbers, looking at what matters most to you and your family and your community, and seeing where is the most aligned with what is best for you. And I thought this was really interesting. So it says Florida is on track to register a record budget surplus for the fiscal year that ended June 30. The state is putting most of the extra money into a reserve fund to protect state agencies and residents during the next downturn, while investing in school construction and raising teacher pay. So not only are they recovering than a lot of other states that are so-called blue, but with this surplus, now they're preparing for a downturn, for a recession. So while they're stacking reserves aside, because they're already ahead, some of these other states, they're going to be screwed because they're already behind. And then you put in a recession, and they're going to be even further behind. And so there's actually even state schools in California, in Oakland, they voted to close schools because enrollment is so low. Because that's another factor that went into people moving, is remote learning for kids. That was a show. Like the pandemic, schools closed down. Parents were not prepared to be teachers and work from home. And so some of the states who had more restrictions and longer shutdowns, then that was a huge impact on parents and families. And so some of the states where the states were open, the schools were open, kids could go back to school. That was a big factor too. Parents moved to other states. There's in fact a school in Florida, the Ohana Institute. Before the pandemic, they had a waiting list of 95. And now last fall, it was 393 in the waiting list. And so these are the things that are affecting real families. And it's important to understand what is happening throughout the country, and where you can live your best life, where you can, reach your full potential, and where you can economically survive better.
Yeah, and what tends to happen when people move to sell their properties, and then there is a domino effect. So here's what actually went into the metrics. So like how did they rate these companies? So to track each state's progress towards normal since the pandemic began, Moody's Analytics developed an index of 13 metrics. So it included the value of goods and services, employment, retail sales, new home listings. So 11 of the 15 with the highest readings through mid-June were red. 8 of the bottom 10 were blue. Now, again, it's not about politics. It's about economics. You have to look at the economics of your state, which is why Chelsea and I, we do things locally, right? We went to our city council. We had an opportunity to speak with our city council, and we talked about some things that we're interested in. So the city council in the city we live in determines what the property taxes are going to be. And the last meeting that we were at, they were discussing the budget for the city. And you could have an input on the budget. And a lot of people came and talked about that and all these different things and the things that we want, the services we want. We got a chance to see what kinds of things are going to be investing in our community, how much, all that kind of stuff, right? We were also interested in public safety because we want our schools to be safe, because we have a son in high school, right? All of these are things that we were very interested in. And then you should take, if these things are of interest to you, you have to start paying attention to them and what's happening in your local area, what's happening in your area, what's happening in your state. There's too many, I think personally, there's too much focus on a national thing, like when national things happen, presidential elections, all these things. But a lot of people aren't paying attention to the governor elections, the city, who's in the city council, who's on your school board. All of these things are things that are going to directly affect and impact you. So pay close attention to those, and keep in mind as you look for some of these things. My mother lives in California. She's planning to move to Texas because her sister lives in Texas. You've seen so many people move from California to Texas. A lot of people have moved from California to Georgia. Costs are lower here, and retirees. A lot of people retire from New York and move down to Georgia. So people are moving into different places. It creates both issues and opportunities, because as people come into those areas, one, if you're trying to buy property, it could start increasing the cost of the property. Whenever somebody moves from New York and sell their house and they come here, to them the cost here in Georgia is a lot cheaper than New York, or in California. If they sell a property in California and move here, like, wow, I can get a lot more in Georgia. So it can help with property values going up if you already own a property. And for somebody like us in the financial industry, it helps when people change jobs and move. One of the things that we help people do is roll over their old 401ks, their old retirement accounts. So even if that's somebody like you, if you had a job change recently, you're wondering what to do with your 401k, send us a message. We can help with all those things. But we're starting to see this large migration from certain states. And this is based on a Wall Street Journal article, and that's how they title it. Red states are doing better economically since the pandemic. Georgia came through the pandemic with a state surplus. So because of that, they're actually looking at reducing state income tax or getting rid of state income tax altogether. Our Johns Creek, one of the things that was done in our city is during the pandemic, things were shut down. They actually allowed for the delivery of alcohol.
And to go alcohol. It had to be sealed. There was restrictions. You couldn't just be, driving down the street and drinking. But that saved a lot of businesses.
Yeah, so businesses could stay open. The city kept collecting revenue from taxes on those kinds of things because that's revenue to them. So it was actually very helpful to that. So someone says we're moving from Tennessee to Oregon. So what's factoring your move? I'm curious about that, Michelle. Is it because of a job, career, or you just think it's a better place, more opportunities, things like that? I'm curious about what's factoring into your move. That's Chelsea's dad, Kurt.
Morning, Dad.
He's up early in California.
Yeah.
So we're also encouraging him to move to Georgia.
Yes.
We've got a campaign to get Kurt to Georgia. So we like Georgia, which is in North Carolina. So look, it's something that people should think about. Yeah, and if you guys share our content, if you like our content, please share. And it's something to be continually thinking about as you make your financial plans. And it's one of the reasons we're doing our webinar or our training. You want to tell them a little bit about the training that's coming up?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about how to handle a recession in your household. And so there's many different things that are extremely important to be aware of and to start planning now, because we're not officially in a recession, but there's talk of it. There are all the leading indicators, inflation, higher raising interest rates. And so it's really, really important to look at how can you put yourself in a stronger financial position now so that you are able to weather whatever happens. When we talk about building an unbreakable financial house, It means being able to handle anything, a pandemic, a recession, a job loss, a family loss, like anything, you can handle it. Your finances can handle it. And so we're going to be talking about exactly the things that you need to put into place and be thinking about now so that you will be prepared for anything that comes your way. So if you want to sign up for that, you can go to 6billionblocks.com/recession, 6billionblocks.com/recession.
And Rain's going to put that in the comments so we can put it on the screen here.
Yeah, and we'll be doing that in coming up soon. And if you guys have any questions along the way, specific things that you want us to cover, reach out to us, put it in the comments, message us. We want to help you guys to build unbreakable finances in your life and business.
Yeah, and there's several things to be thinking about. This is we're gonna do two versions of this. One is going to be a household version. So the first one we're going to do is about how to handle recession household edition. What does your household need to be thinking about? And then from there,
kids better get jobs.
Yeah, our kid's got a job. He's at work right now. So the next thing is then, how do you handle a recession as a business? Because there's different things you may need to do as a business versus a household.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted us to do them separately so that we don't overwhelm with too much info in one webinar. So we separated them out. I think it'd be great to watch both, because when we talk to a lot of our clients are business owners. So when we talk to our clients, business owners, the business supports your household. It's what feeds your household, right? So the business has to succeed and do well. And if you have employees, the business is taking care of their households. So it's very important that the business does well and the business succeeds. And you need to understand how to navigate any economy. Doesn't matter what is happening in the economy, you still have to flourish and prosper. So you can't go into agreement that things are bad. Even if things get bad, you still have to figure out how to succeed, how to survive and thrive in any economy. So you'll hear between now and the next 6 to 12 months, you'll hear tremendous talk about recession. But it's important that you have a game plan and you know what to expect. Pandemic blindsided people. They were not prepared for it. One of the things that we have started doing beforehand is we have clients in 48 states. So we do a lot of things remotely with our clients, right? So because we can't physically go to every state to do stuff like that. And so because we set our business up that way, when pandemic happened and it was a shutdown, we actually opened a new office in, what was that, January of
2020.
January of 2020, we opened a new office, but we were still doing things remotely with our clients. And so our son wasn't in school, schools got closed. And so we stayed home with him, but we still operated our business. You have to be looking and thinking with that perspective. If there was a shutdown, how would you handle that? People weren't prepared for it. A lot of times they didn't have reserves. They didn't have the finances to handle things. So it's why we're talking about these things now, so that you can get prepared for them. No matter where you are, where you live. Not only that, but you have massive inflation. You didn't have inflation when a pandemic hit like that. So now you have all these factors that's playing in. Even when you're trying to save money, you go to the grocery store, it's costing you more. So it's becoming harder and harder for you to save money. So as a result, the savings rate in America is actually going down. And people who have reserves are tapping into their reserves to cover it. So all kinds of things. Cars are costing more. It's costing more to finance your cars. All of these things are happening all at once. And if you're not prepared for it, it could like blindside you and like knock you off your game. So,
but it's important to know that you could succeed in any economy, yes. Whether it's a pandemic, recession, end of the world, I mean, anything, you can succeed. You have to have the right tools and you have to use them.
If it's the end of the world, just keep working.
No, you better have the right ticket to the right ship.
You better get a ticket on Elon's rocket to
That's
Mars.
Right. So you better succeed now so you can get that ticket.
Because you don't want to be left behind, man. Elon's like this. Elon's building these big, huge rockets, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to sell tickets on these rockets. We go into Mars, so you better be ready." So, yes, Mitch says car loan bubble is something most aren't talking about. This is true. A lot of my friends and some of our clients in the car industry have been talking about this. It's crazy that there is a bubble with car loans. It's like it started costing more and more for things and all this stuff, and it's there's a big impact that'll happen. And even if you're not sure exactly where it's going to show up, you have to be prepared no matter what. And that's kind of our main thing. We're going to talk about how your household needs to be prepared. Every day, Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. I'll say that again. Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to go live. Chelsea and I are going to go live for about 20 to 30 minutes talking about personal and financial development, and in giving you tools and resources and strategies that can help you, particularly with your thinking and then what to execute on and what things you need to do. So one of the things you can do is go and register for our training, 6buildingblocks.com/recession. It's going to be on July 22nd at noon Eastern time. Even if you can't watch it live, if you register, you'll be able to get the recording for it so that you can do that. So Chris says, DJ Chris London was a victim of having to buy a new vehicle this year, unfortunately. I had to dip into my savings just to put a down payment. Yep. Prices went up. And we were fortunate that we got vehicles before all this stuff, all the prices started to go. I'm like, man, I'm going to hang on to this car for a little bit longer before starting to go back to try to like trade it in or do anything like that. So I understand that, man. How much should I start saving for a ticket? What sort of ticket?
For Elon's.
Oh, Elon ticket.
Elon's.
Going to Mars. I don't know, man. Elon's going to price that stuff pretty high. So
$1 million?
Yeah. What does it cost now to go to space? I think it costs like $25 million just to go into space, something like that. So keep that as a target. So Elon might have you paying.
But where there's a will, there's a way. You know, all those end of the world movies, and the people, they find a way. They didn't have the ticket, but
Robert Rez says 6 months of bills. It's a good, people having months of your expenses are really good. I'll
give you 3 quick tips on building reserves if you're not doing saving reserves right now at all. Is number 1, you want to get a separate bank account that is totally separate from all of your other expenses. Number 2, you're going to decide on a percent or a dollar amount that you're going to put in there every single time you get money. And number 3, your first goal, if you don't have any reserves right now at all, is get it to $1,000. Okay, that's going to cover little emergencies, here and there that might happen. Then once you do that and you're developing the habit of putting a regular amount away, it's more important developing the habit than it is the actual amount. Then you're going to build 1 month expenses, 3 month expenses, 6 month expenses, and you're going to just continue building on that because there are so many different unexpected things that could happen that the more reserves, the more prepared that you are, the better, stronger financial position you're going to be in.
Yeah, we're
glad to see you guys are back doing the daily. Yes. Thanks for tuning in. A lot of people have been saying they've missed our show. We used to go live every morning.
And then Michelle says the cost of housing on the Oregon coast is crazy. Yeah. So if you're looking at moving to Oregon, there it is. You got to factor all those kinds of different things in. So all of these are things we're going to be talking about how to plan for, prepare for, and get ready for any upcoming recessions. And whether a recession happens or not, almost every economists are thinking, I'm thinking most likely that you'll see some form of recession, whether it's big, small, but it's how you prepare for it and how you handle it that shows how well you come out of it. So 6buildingblocks.com/recession. Go there and get registered for our training. It's going to be on July 22nd. We'll be live every day right here, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time on The Matthew Show. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for sharing.